The world is waiting with bated breath for the 6th of May 2023, when King Charles will be coronated. Not all are happy about this. In fact, Charles was the one who humorously quipped, "I remember there were an enormous number of people who were trying to get in as they were waiting for me to get out. Story of my life." Did he know back then that those words could ring true from many areas when it came to his coronation? One thing people should know is that the Queen prepared him well, for years. King Charles III is yet to be officially coronated. He might be the ruling monarch of the UK, but who was it who was preparing him all these years to be king? None other than his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen has always ranked as the most popular royal. She's liked by 75% of people. That's according to a running tracker by YouGov. On the other hand, Charles is liked by 42% of the British people and disliked by 24% of them. Charles was already being groomed as a very young prince. In fact, there has been no other heir that has been prepared to take over the crown longer than King Charles has. Eventually, he took over on the Thursday after his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, passed away. He was fulfilling a destiny that was already placed on him at the tender age of 3. Elizabeth was crowned at age 27, and Charles will be 73 when he takes the crown. Quite the wait indeed. But how did the heir to the throne start his life? He was born in Buckingham Palace on the evening of November 14, 1948. This baby heir was carried to the gilded ballroom by the royal midwife and was placed in a cot for viewing. He became heir to the throne before he was 4 when his grandfather George V died. But he didn't have an easy childhood. He had to contend with a disciplinarian father. Both parents were often absent. His father wanted to toughen him up a bit, so he sent him off to Gordonston, a rough, Spartan boarding school in Scotland. He graduated with middle-type grades, saying his experience had been a prison sentence. By the time he was 4, you would see him seated between the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret when Elizabeth had her coronation ceremony. After that, he would forever be in the public eye. Royal.uk, the official website of the British royal family, reports that Charles's parents chose to send him to school. This would make him the first heir to receive an outside education. No private tutoring for him. He was even an exchange student in Melbourne at one time in his schooling career. Charles has also been the first heir to the British crown to earn a bachelor's degree. He achieved this by attending Trinity College at Cambridge University for 3 years. He studied anthropology and archaeology, also history. At age of 20, while still studying, he received the title of Prince of Wales. From 1971 to 1976, he followed in the steps of his father, grandfather, and great-grandfathers. This would be to serve in the Royal Navy. He would fly helicopters and train to be a Royal Air Force pilot. Eventually, he served as a commander of the minesweeper, the HMS Brunnington. All key experiences for life as a future king. He would grow up somewhat shy and somewhat awkward, often understated. Nevertheless, he was confident in his own opinions and would deliver speeches and articles on any issue that was close to his heart. These would be his favorite topics such as alternative medicine, climate change, and green energy. He publicly supports causes close to his heart, such as those related to the environment, climate change, sustainability, education, the arts, and alternative medicine. Philanthropy was a key focus of the late Queen, and it has been the same for Charles. He loved playing polo and was also a competitive jockey. The Queen's love of horses was also well known. There are plenty of photographs of him skiing, surfing, and participating in other sports. He was actually nicknamed the Action Man. In his first speech as King Charles, he announced that his son, William, and his wife Catherine would become the new Prince and Princess of Wales. As you can see, Charles became well prepared to be king by the Queen, as well as Prince William and his son George. Often, the Queen would allow Charles to hold practice audiences. He and David Cameron would prepare for him to take over one day. David Cameron says he saw Charles in action at some of the Commonwealth heads of government meetings. He noted that Charles knew everyone personally. He said of Charles, he interacts with them brilliantly. One former Prime Minister even disclosed that King Charles was set to become a brilliant monarch after serving the longest apprenticeship in history. And another former Premier, Sir Tony Blair, said that he thought the King was very well prepared for what lay ahead. King Charles is a caring, intelligent, and good man. This has been reinforced in him by his mother's excellent example. He has a deep attachment to duty, and his love for the people is just as profound as his mother's. He has watched, thought about, and absorbed all it means to be king. He is well prepared and resilient for the task that lies ahead of him. One expert in royal matters said that the Queen had started asking Charles to begin looking at confidential state papers, the Queen's famous red box, no doubt. This would prepare him to take over quickly should she pass away suddenly. Robert Jobson, co-author of the 2002 book Diana, last year said, "The Queen, known as Reader Number 1 in Whitehall, wants Charles to be kept up to speed with all confidential state matters, so that the transition is as smooth as possible should anything happen to her." According to Robert Jobson, the prince was going to be the most well-prepared monarch in waiting ever. He had already been involved in meetings with the government for many years. These included proposals for new legislation and also notes from the Cabinet Office. As the Queen aged and her health deteriorated, King Charles and Prince William stepped in for her on official engagements. This was all part of their training. And when she developed mobility problems, she gave authority to both Prince Charles and Prince William to be councillors of state. They would open Parliament on her behalf. A new sovereign followed the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Soon after Elizabeth's death, Charles issued a statement about his beloved mother. He thanked the nation and the world for their support. "We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign," he wrote. "I know her loss will be deeply felt throughout the country, the realms, and the Commonwealth, and by countless people around the world." 73-year-old King Charles III followed his beloved mother's death with weekly audiences with the Prime Minister. These were a key part of his schedule of events. King Charles wanted to start thinking about how to conduct the audiences. A few subtle changes have taken place since Queen Elizabeth II died and Charles became king. For instance, the country's national anthem has already changed to "God Save the King." Also, the image of the nation's currency will start to change, even though it will be a gradual change. The currency with the Queen's image will remain in circulation for still a few more years. Their family, Charles said, was now entering a period of mourning and change. Will Charles's grooming make him King of Hearts of the people? Polling revealed in the years prior to the Queen's passing that Britons preferred the thought of Prince William being king over Charles. But things change. A YouGov survey shortly after the Queen's death showed an increase in favour towards King Charles. Listen to these words that King Charles revealed to Time magazine as a cover story in 2013. "I've had this extraordinary feeling for years and years, ever since I can really remember, of wanting to heal and make things better. I feel more than anything else it's my duty to worry about everybody and their lives in this country, to try to find a way of improving things if I possibly can." Comforting words for a country to hear from their future monarch. Now, 63% of people say they believe Charles will do a good job as monarch, a huge increase from the previous poll. Does King Charles still see the monarchy in a different way? When he was still a prince back in 2010, Charles told Vanity Fair that he saw the role of a constitutional monarch in a different way. Those who hold on to tradition might think that sounds a bit scary going into the future. He still has to pacify some of his future subjects by explaining to them what he still intends to do in a different way. Nevertheless, he has already addressed the nation as a monarch, where he praised his mother's legacy of public service and devotion to her family. He followed up with, "I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation." Watch on the 6th of May 2023 as King Charles III's coronation takes place, conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Alongside him will be the Queen Consort. It has been reported that Charles wants a pared-back ceremony. No doubt there will be fewer than half of the guests compared to Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. The coronation will be shorter and simpler too, and it will take place on a weekend. It aims to reflect on and recognize the spirit of the times and the modern-day role of the monarchy. Maybe this is what Charles meant when he said that people will see the monarchy in a different way. Are we feeling disappointed that the king will be stripping back a lot of the coronation in line with the fact that the world has changed in the past 70 years? Many are disappointed. But is this a sign of a more modern king that we all expected? Only time will tell.